Welcome to a dialogue on accountability in the digital age. A dialogue with representatives of a global, multi-stakeholder community.
And I'm your host, Frits Bussemaker, and today I'm delighted and privileged to have a conversation with PradeepGupta. Pradeep, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Frits. It's a real pleasure to be on this program.
Allow me to introduce Pradeep. He's the chairman of the Cyber Media Group out of India and also the Cyber Media Research. And this is the largest specialty media house in Southeast Asia amongst India's top 5 magazine brands, reaching out to over 1.5 million business decision makers. Now, Pradeep has been an industry veteran for over 40 years and is highly reputed in the IT industry. And he has mentored over 300 startups. He's also the co-founder of the Indian Angel Network and also the recipients of numerous awards and recognition. So again, Pradeep, very much welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, the traditional role of media is providing a source of information, but also being a watchdog. Which roles does the Cyber Media Group play? And maybe you can expand a little bit what actually Cyber Media Group offers.
Okay, so you're absolutely right that any media group provides content as well as it plays the role of the watchdog, and I think we play both these roles. We started in '82. At that time, the information technology industry was just taking roots in India. I'm talking about pre-PC days, right? In '82, we started with our first title, Data Quest, and then we came out with PC Quest and so on. So we have always been part of the evolution of the entire information technology industry in India. And, we helped catalog what was happening, but we also helped shape the directions. We ensured that there would be healthy debates that would take place in our magazine pages so that, directions could be given in terms of, what needs to be done. And then, of course, there was also the role of not just influencing, but also being a watchdog, that if we felt that something needed to be corrected, then we would give our opinions on that. So I think it was a composite sort of a role that we gave. And then, after Data Quest, PC Quest, we started with Voice and Data, which was in the telecommunication industry, just when India opened up its telecom sector. And so again, in terms of shaping that sector, I think we've played a tremendous role in that.
Okay, can you give us some examples of situations where you felt, okay, now we need to steer the discussion or steer the outcome?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, several of them, right from the time when, India was still looking at what operating systems it should have. And, we became the great votary for Unix-based systems. And then whether it was open source, and then after that, whether it was, in terms of bandwidth, because we started the campaign in India that we must have very high bandwidths available, for corporate and individual use and so on. So it's an endless list. The mobile revolution, we played a significant part in that entire revolution and so on. So absolutely a tremendous amount of roles in terms of ensuring that the industry grows in the way it should.
Excellent. So not only just focusing on the benefits, what the technology offers, but also give warnings, look, we need to manage this. Now,
absolutely. So for example, currently, we are talking a lot about deep tech because we feel that deep tech is something that is going to change, transform each and every industry. And so we were the first to hold a deep tech conference, and we are continuously pushing that particular agenda in the current time frame.
Okay, could you maybe give us a definition of what you mean with deep tech?
So, it is all the various things which are happening in terms of whether it is AI, ML, 5G, crypto, blockchain, AR, VR. Uh, and what we are finding is that each and every industry, just as it got transformed when PCs came in, just as it got transformed when connectivity happened, just as it got transformed when mobile devices came in, these industries are going to get transformed completely, in another 15 years or so. So, that's the thing that we are today talking more and more about.
Okay, I got that. Now, if I now move over to the general media, you see, the last couple of years, there have been a lot of attacks on the media as providers of fake news. Have you been a victim of those attacks as well?
Not really. We have got very good processes. We do fact checking and so on, and therefore, we have not really. So, let me just take a step back and let me distinguish between two different things. One is that I can have a different spin on a news, right? And the other one is fake news. So fake news is when I'm using deliberately wrong information to communicate a wrong sort of a point or create a different kind of a situation. However, the same incident which is happening may be interpreted by one media house in a different manner and another media house in a different manner. Okay. So that is the spin that you would like to give to a specific thing, and you may have different opinions. And when we are a technology media house, but in the general media, you will find that there will be people who will support one view, people will support the second view and the third view, and they may look at the same things happening in a different manner, right? But when it is a deliberate attempt at giving out false information or based upon things which have actually not happened, then I think that is something which is really bad and needs to be corrected. Now, most media houses, at least I can talk about India, have got their internal systems in place. And in fact, that is the reason why when the government has come out with this ethics code, the Indian Newspaper Society has reached back to the government and said that we should be exempted from this because we already have processes which are built in. The editor is part of the entire process, and we share the responsibilities of the editor, the publisher, the printers, and so on. And therefore, we have said that wherever there are existing systems which already are ensuring that that news is checked and then after that it is presented, you should not really be going after the ethics rules and so on that they have come out with.
Okay, so you've requested to be exempted. Any reaction to now, today?
No, and what we have said is that what they have actually given are rules, while we are governed by the Press Act, and therefore acts take precedence over the rules. And so we have actually not shared who should be the ethics officer in our companies and so on, because we think that our editor is the person who is doing that. Our publisher is the person who is doing that. And that is something which under PRB Act, we have already shared with the government. We don't need a compliance.
Okay. Now, because the nature, the focus of your magazines, your publications is information technology, I am assuming you might have a better than average understanding of what the effect is of, say, fake news or and how to mitigate that. Do you also play a role, or do you also help other media organizations to deal with these type of attacks and the fake news?
Um, so, most media houses in India, if there are technical related issues, TV channels would from time to time reach out to us if they need some technical related information and so on. So yes, to that extent, yes. But the fact of the matter is that media has been complicit in fake news. Governments have been complicit in fake news. You know, uh, political parties have been complicit in fake news. There are, and I'm not just talking about India. Whether you look at US, whether you look at Europe, you look at any country, you look at the Far East, everywhere it is the same kind of a thing which is happening. We are living in a very polarized world. And so therefore, very often my version of truth may be different than your version of truth.
Yeah, now that obviously that's from a historic perspective has always been the case that we have our own personal interpretation of the information. So I was just wondering the fact that we now see this in a digital environment, how has that changed the game?
Oh, it has it has completely changed. Because now you are having algorithmic behavior, algorithmic behavior changes being brought about, right? So what I mean is that, and then there are enough articles on that how people don't want you to move from what you're watching, and therefore will continuously keep on algorithmically keep on feeding you things that you are showing interest in, right? So therefore, the entire thing gets magnified. And it's not just magnified in terms of, that I'm again and again being fed with certain messages. It is also getting amplified in terms of the reach to similar minded people. And so it becomes a double whammy in a way, right? That if I am of a certain belief and I keep on getting more and more stuff on that, right? If I like entertainment and I just keep on getting the more and more dose of entertainment, then somewhere my senses start becoming immune to other things which are going to be relevant to me.
Yes, we do see. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. And I was saying that, and furthermore, it also then starts creating these communities, and these communities start getting created automatically without, without human interventions and so on. So it's a very, very dicey path that we are treading right now.
Yes, no, the comment I wanted to make, indeed, we see the creation of echo chambers. You're bringing people together with the same beliefs, and also technology allows us to see that as well. So do you, the fact that that's happening, do you see a way the media can coach the general public to better deal with the news and its news sources? So do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so we've been doing that in the past also. So that how do you vet the entire thing? Look at the source. Look at from who is the person who has forwarded it to you. Don't rely on the WhatsApp University. So there are number of different kind of things, and there would be a series of articles that we would have done in our magazines on this particular issue. But I'm afraid that we reach out to a very small percentage of people. Bulk of the people get these messages and believe them in totality, and would happily forward them to a few other groups and so on. And so it's a very difficult problem to tackle.
Yeah. Now, I do see some specifically social, media outlets out there flagging information where they themselves indicate this might be dubious information. So there's at least some kind of little warning there. Look, this might not be what you think. Is that, what do you think of that approach, and is that enough?
No, so, different approaches have been used on websites, for example. You have certification, you can get into the quality of the website and stuff like that. There are fact-checking sites that are available. But again, my point is that is actually touching a very, very small percentage of people. Very few people, I have a news group of all the people from my batch of IIT. Okay. So it's a group of about 60 of us, all engineers, so all well educated and so on. And of course, we have plenty of different kind of views amongst ourselves, and somebody saying that this is right, and somebody saying this is right, which is what the world should be. There should be healthy debates and so on.
Yeah.
But then in come these videos which are forwarded by somebody who received them. And then somebody will do a fact check and say, hey, listen, this is actually wrong, right? Now, if this is happening with an IIT group, a very well-educated group, where only about 5 or 10% of the people are actually checking, right, whether the source of information that they've got is valid and the stuff that is going out to them is good, then what about, the billions of Indians, where there will be a very, very small percentage of them who will actually do any kind of verification, but will just go by whatever algorithmically they are being served.
Yes, and unfortunately, that what you're describing is plays out on a global level. It's not just India. I mean, you see it in Europe and the States as well. So, do you have a role? Do you want to play a role how to govern digital technology as a media house?
So, it's not a simple task. It's a tough task. But I think the one is that we need to have very robust methodologies of fact checking, right? And then after that, there should be traceability. A lot of this fake stuff is happening because traceability is very, very low because of jurisdictional problems and so on. So there has to be traceability, and then the intermediaries definitely need to play a role. They can't wash their hands away and say that we are just intermediaries. There is how can we check today? If technology has created a problem, technology can also find solutions.
Yes, true. It's true, because you could argue we're talking about a 21st century issue, and so far, what we're observing is, in a lot of cases, we're trying to use 20th and 19th century solutions to resolve that 21st century issue. So we keep on referring to, okay, we need to have rules and regulations. But you could argue the speed of development from the digital technology is an issue for the fact how rules and regulations are being developed. So to what extent should we also be looking at, next to the rules and regulations, because we're still going to have to use them, but looking at other ways we can govern the development of digital technology, and specifically in the media in this case?
No, so very well put. We are trying to solve 21st problems, 21st century problems with the 20th century mindset and with 19th century laws. Okay. So I think we need to find these solutions which are digital in nature. Essentially, there has to be ways in which I'm not saying control user-generated content, but you need to build in some accountability in that entire system. So it is not that, I'm all for freedom of speech, but uh, there have to be checks and balances that must get established there.
Yeah.
And we need, therefore, 21st century laws, we need 21st century solutions to find out how this can actually be done.
Okay. Now, when you mention we, can you clarify who do you feel we should be? So who should be at the table to come up with some kind of solution?
Yeah, so I think a whole lot of these debates will actually start with groups like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it is essentially a social discourse that happens, various kind of things that are discussed out, and then based upon that. But ultimately, of course, this will have to be brought out by having the right laws. Different kind of governments will need to implement them. That is the way we will have to do it. But yes, it will be civil society, it will be groups like this, which will actually do the thinking and come out with possible ways of addressing these issues.
We live in a world where, because you spoke about this from an Indian perspective, being one of the biggest democracies in the world, but we also live in a world where we have different cultures and different ways we govern ourselves. So do you have a take on how to deal with that situation?
I am not really, an expert on this area, but yeah, I think we will need to find different kind of solutions for different sort of societies and systems. Perhaps what we need to look at is, as has happened with several other laws, that you start picking up practices which are the best practices happening in different systems and say that this is something that is well balanced, has the right sense of jurisprudence, and therefore this is what should be applicable as a policy and as a law in specific countries.
Okay, now fair point. So then coming back to your role representing one of the major houses in Asia on media, do you have an idea of what's your ideal future look like in the next 5 or 10 years? What are you aiming for as an organization?
Okay, so as an organization, as I mentioned earlier, our focus for the next 10 or 15 years is a whole lot of things which are happening in the area of deep technology, right? So that is what the focus is going to be. And by the way, that itself will bring out a lot of those issues that today we have been discussing, right? That when you start getting into, say, robotics, then, there are whole related questions about, processes actually going completely berserk. That sort of a chance always is there. When you say fly by wire, how much of that flying by wire needs to happen so that you ensure that the wire is absolutely safe? And we have had, situations like the Boeing situation, where the computers are actually overriding the humans and so on. So, you know, different kind of issues are going to come out as technology keeps on progressing further. When we are talking about virtual reality and we are talking about the metaverse, then, you know, what kind of presence is going to be there? And I mean, it's a completely new kind of a definition that will happen in the metaverse, right? Uh,
Yeah, we'll
we
see
were
GM. Yeah,
go on.
we'll see GM move to the metaverse as well.
Sorry?
Will you, as an organization, move to the metaverse as well?
I don't think any of us has a choice not to. Okay. Because once the technology is there, once the users are going to be using the technologies, and once people are going to have alternate presence, then, you know, you need to be able to as a media play a role in the real universe as well as in the metaverse. So, you know, we will have to, all of us will need to have products and services which are available there. You know, the messaging, the communication will happen there as well.
Okay. Now, a couple of final questions, because we talked very much about your role from a media house and your take on accountability and the result on news. Are these also discussions you have when you mentor the startups, looking at digital technology and accountability?
No, absolutely. You know, I mean, for the startups, I always insist that we should be looking at these issues about accountability and so on, because, you know, ethics is something that is, you know, you need to lay it into a startup ecosystem right at the very beginning, right? Because if it is not there as part of the DNA of a company while it is growing up, it'd be very difficult to subsequently put in that DNA in any kind of a company. So that's something that I always, you know, insist that there should be proper amount of corporate governance. There has to be proper ethics that the company must maintain. That's something which is absolutely essential for the startup world.
Okay. Hey, Pradeep, I want to thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and experience with us for our Institute for Accountability in the Digital Age. I'm very happy to hear not only you're looking at accountability within your own organization, but also passing on that vision that it should be ingrained in the DNA of all the companies you are mentoring. So thank you for sharing that. And I want to leave with asking you what your final thoughts or takeaways are for the audience.
First of all, Fritz, thank you for this. I really love this discussion, very free flowing, and, you know, we hopefully covered a lot of ground. Would love to get engaged in any way in the future in various discourses that we have around this particular issue, because I think this is something which is absolutely essential for humanity.
Great. Well, let's continue with the discussion then. We'll end for now, but we will be back. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.